LeBron James has officially opted out of his contract for next year. That does not necessarily mean he's leaving the Heat. Explain.
Correct. Slow your roll, America. LeBron 2.0 is not happening. There's going to be no sequel to the decision. I'd be shocked, actually. Not shocked, but I'd be surprised if he even left Miami. There are not many alternatives. The best thing that could be said about this for LeBron is that he essentially gave the Miami Heat future financial flexibility in which they could lure a player like, well, Trevor Ariza or somebody of that ilk to help him win another championship and look more competitive against the Spurs than he did in the finals. I don't think he's going to leave Miami, but if he does, I've been told by a couple different people in the NBA, the best scenario for him would be the Los Angeles Clippers. I would say it's a 20% chance this offseason, but it's still a chance. And anytime that there's a chance in the NBA, it can happen.
So he opts out. It gives the Heat more flexibility. Dan, do you believe that, two questions. One, LeBron will be somewhere else next year. And two, if he decided to go somewhere else, would he have a better chance of winning a championship in LA, as Mike mentioned, with the Clippers, than he would be by returning to the Heat?
I'm going to do the second one first, and I actually think no. He would probably. I mean, he would certainly have a better roster, but you have to. I mean, you have to look at the conferences. And then with Miami, he had one obstacle really this year, Indiana, which kind of fell apart at the end of the season, and it wasn't really that much of an obstacle. And so then you're in the NBA Finals, and in a 7-game series, obviously anything can happen. In the West, I mean, I think you could probably argue that 6 of the 7 best teams in the NBA this year were in the West, and if he's in LA, I mean, that's not going to be appreciably different next year. So I think, no, I don't think his chances are much better, even though he would certainly be on a better team with a better roster. As for the first question, I'm going to defer to Mike and believe that the chances are that he stays. But I also think, and you know, this is probably some of my own built-in bias against LeBron, but I think he loves to have everyone talking about him. And I think by doing this today, with the draft 2 days away, he, again, has everyone talking about him. And for 48 hours, they're not going to be talking about Jabari Parker, and they're not going to be talking about Andrew Wiggins. They're going to be talking about LeBron, and I think he loves it that way.
Mike, your thoughts on the same question. So you say stays in Miami, better chance to win in Miami also.
Yeah, agreed and agreed. The West is just going to get better. Golden State's getting better. At least for the time being, Oklahoma City hasn't lost Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook. They're still growing up. I don't, and the Spurs, Tim Duncan's coming back. So
you can even say the Mavericks gave the Spurs their best series of the playoffs.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
exactly. So all of a sudden you have to go through a gauntlet in the Western Conference. The East is not chopped liver. The Wizards are getting better. They're going to be, hopefully they're going to be a perennial playoff team. Brooks Lopez is coming back with the Nets. Derrick Rose hopefully will be healthy with the Bulls. But there's an easier walk to the finals in the East, and I think he'd get more rest. I don't think he's going to leave Miami. I do think he is an attention whore, and I do think that that's just part of who he is, and it's also part of who his little inner circle is. More importantly, Rich Paul and Maverick Carter, whom he trusts implicitly for good reasons and bad reasons, that he didn't really have a parent growing up, and they became sort of the most loyal people in his life. The moment he kind of moves beyond them, you're going to see a full-figured human being. Until that, you still got this guy who needs people to be talking about.
The lure of LA and playing with CP3 and Blake Griffin is just intriguing enough to, tantalizing enough to sort of keep that. But
it's not like he's exactly out of the limelight in Miami.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
But he's been there, done that, won a few championships.
But I don't think he'll go to Chicago. Michael Jordan. I don't care what everybody says. Michael Jordan living down that legend for the rest of his career. No. Cleveland sounds like a sentimental story, but he's not going to go back to. What do they say? You can never go back home. You can if you're LeBron.
That would be interesting if
people say Houston as a possibility too, or something.
Yeah, Houston. And I also think in this way, LeBron is not tone deaf like he used to be. He realizes that if he goes and just searches for championships and teams, he's going to look like a bad guy, and people really won't like him.
You know, and LeVar has made that point in the past about how he moved and sort of cherry-picked his team with Miami, and that should count against him in his legacy.
LeVar made a good point on this show. Shocker. Shocker.
All right.